If Marcus Aurelius were handed a modern credit card, he wouldn't have maxed it out. He would have rejected it as a threat to freedom. This was a man who commanded the most powerful empire on earth and still trained himself to live with restraint. He slept simply. He ate modestly. He reminded himself daily that power, comfort, and wealth were temporary illusions. Even the throne was something he treated as borrowed. Now place him inside a 21st century shopping mall. Endless screens. Buy now, pay later offers. Personalized ads engineered to hijack attention. A culture designed to turn desire into debt. Marcus wouldn't be impressed. He would ask a question most of us never stop to consider. How did comfort become a cage? We live in an age where instability is normal. Personal debt is expected. Self-control is treated like a flaw. And yet nearly 2,000 years ago, one of history's most powerful figures wrote a private manual on how not to lose himself when everything around him was breaking down. He wasn't writing for an audience. He wasn't trying to teach others. He was trying to survive. Those private notes became meditations, and hidden inside them is a financial philosophy that directly challenges the modern world. Marcus Aurelius was born into privilege in 121 AD. He inherited wealth, status, and eventually absolute authority, but instead of leaning into excess, he leaned into discipline. He was shaped by Stoicism, a philosophy obsessed not with pleasure but with control over reaction, control over impulse, control over desire. His reign was anything but peaceful. He governed through wars, political betrayal, economic strain, and a devastating plague. Yet his writing never panics, it never blames, it never indulges. Because Marcus wasn't chasing comfort, he was building internal independence. At the height of Rome's power, when luxury poured into the capital from every corner of the empire, Marcus deliberately chose less. He distrusted indulgence. He avoided praise. He believed that the only thing truly worth owning was the ability to remain steady when circumstances collapsed. That's why Stoicism is resurfacing today. But here's the irony. We've reduced it to motivational quotes while ignoring the system Marcus was trying to defend himself against. And that system now runs the entire world. Modern finance isn't just chaotic, it's engineered to destabilize you. Personal debt has reached historic levels. Credit card interest rates exceed 20%. Most people have little savings and even less understanding of how money actually works. At the same time, every platform you interact with is optimized to keep you spending, comparing, and reacting emotionally. Desire is manufactured. Anxiety is monetized, attention is sold. The result is a society that looks wealthy but lives on the edge, a population more anxious, more indebted, and more easily manipulated than any generation before it, and a financial system that no longer relies on productivity but on emotional imbalance. This is where Stoicism stops being philosophical and becomes dangerous. Stoicism doesn't ask you to ignore emotion. It teaches you not to obey it, especially when it comes to money. Marcus constantly reminded himself that loss was normal, that death was inevitable, that poverty was survivable, that wanting more than you need is the fastest path to suffering. These weren't abstract ideas, they were survival tools. Imagine handling money the way Marcus handled power, not chasing status. Not panicking during market crashes. Not upgrading your life every time advertising tells you to. Imagine understanding that freedom doesn't come from accumulation, it comes from independence from desire. That mindset is hostile to the modern economy, because today's system depends on people never feeling satisfied. Consumption is fueled by insecurity. Credit fills the gap between identity and income. The idea of enough threatens the entire structure. Marcus understood this intuitively. He saw luxury as a test, not a reward. He believed comfort weakened discipline. That entitlement hollowed people out, and that the only wealth worth pursuing was the kind no crisis could touch. Today, wealth is measured externally. Assets, titles, lifestyles. Marcus would have called that fragile. He would remind us that real wealth is the ability to stay composed when those things disappear. And that ability is rare in a world where a single market dip triggers layoffs, a rate hike shatters budgets, and a scrolling feed convinces you your life is inadequate. We aren't just financially stretched, we're psychologically exposed. We treat ease as normal and hardship as injustice. But the Stoics believed discomfort was training. Marcus practiced voluntary hardship not to punish himself but to remove fear. Because dependence was the real enemy, dependence on outcomes, on comfort. On approval, now apply that to modern finance. Instead of reacting to volatility, you prepare for it. Instead of chasing returns, you build buffers. Instead of trying to out-earn anxiety, you dismantle the belief that money will cure it. Instead of measuring success by net worth, you measure it by stability of mind. That is Stoic finance. And it may be the only kind that survives prolonged instability. Look around. Inflation has returned. Government debt continues to expand. Central banks are trapped to print to prevent collapse, raise rates to control the damage caused by printing. Meanwhile, most people have no real savings, no margin, no plan, only faith that someone else understands the system. History tells us that faith is rarely rewarded. Marcus would not have waited for rescue. He wouldn't have blamed the structure even if it was broken. He would have started where power actually lives, with himself, with habits, expectations, discipline. That's where your leverage is too. You don't need to become a financial genius. You need clarity. What do you truly need? What are you afraid of losing? What are you chasing, and who taught you to want it? Most people never ask these questions. They simply play the game they inherited, and the system profits from their confusion. But you're here because you sense the imbalance. You feel the math failing beneath the narrative. You know something isn't right. Maybe the answer isn't another strategy, app, or influencer. Maybe it's ancient wisdom practiced quietly. When markets panic, pause. When prices rise, simplify. When your feed urges consumption, decline. When fear demands reaction, resist. Because financial freedom isn't about income, it's about internal ownership. Marcus Aurelius never touched a credit card, but he understood the danger of being owned by desire, and he understood the reward of mastering it. That is wealth that survives chaos, ancient or modern.